Hi, Roger at Weathering Heights. This is the VELCO Weather Hazards Outlook. This is valid the 20th of November, today Thursday, the rest of Thursday, through next Wednesday, the 26th of November, just ahead of the Thanksgiving holiday. Well, same old, same old. We have an area of low pressure up to the north of us with a cyclonic flow that's bringing moisture downwind from the Great Lakes. It's interacting, this cold temperature, with the Great Lakes that are relatively warm this time of year. And this midwinter-like cold going over these lakes is producing tremendous epic amounts of snow, especially in the areas around south of Buffalo, also eastern portions of Lake Ontario around Watertown and into St. Lawrence County and the western Adirondack Mountains. The temperatures here have warmed up sufficiently, so they're getting a little bit of a mix of precip. Looking ahead at these temperatures now, you can see where the cold air is diving south, curving cyclonically around this area of low pressure, and you can see temperatures basically in the 20s, a lot of lower 20s, and even some teens earlier on this morning. This cold air is interacting with the Great Lakes, but off to the south of our region and southwest of our region, slightly warmer air is being advected north. So this is why we're going to see a little bit warmer day than the last couple of days. This is the high-resolution rapid refresh model, and it shows those lake effect bands. We're going to concentrate off of Lake Ontario. Those temperatures actually going above the 32-degree mark eastern Lake Ontario, and subsequently getting that little mix of precipitation. But the band of the moisture does head into northern Vermont, and as we get into the afternoon, you can see temperatures do rise in the Champlain Valley above 32 degrees, and then later on this afternoon and toward this evening, those temperatures do fall off. But we will see a little bit of action across the far northern areas of Vermont. Now, most of this interacts with the spine of the Green Mountains and points east, and it hasn't been doing very much across, of course, the Champlain Valley. But we're looking at a little bit of business here with some potential very small minor accumulations during the afternoon and into the evening hours as lake effect moisture does get into our neck of the woods. Okay, quick focus. This is the European model. We'll look at the entire lower 48 CONUS area. And the contiguous United States, we're seeing basically most of the action across the northern and eastern portions of the country. Lake effect of moisture, downwind, of course, of the Great Lakes. And then this is going to be working in across the region and periodically affecting Vermont, but very light. Now, high pressure will build in on, looks like Friday night and Saturday. It kind of ridges north. This area of higher pressure displaced a little further to the south, but still just enough to give us a little bit of sunshine, looks like, on Saturday. Now, as we get into Saturday afternoon and evening, the clouds will lower and thicken, and eventually those high clouds will be low enough. We'll probably see some scattered sort of mixed rain and snow shower activity as we get into Saturday night. And this lingers into the morning hours on Sunday, but we're not looking at very much in the way of accumulations in terms of precipitation. Uh, we warm up with milder air working on in. This is the next weather system. Looks like a southerly flow will start to give us that warmer air and a pretty healthy rainfall. This will take place, it looks like, during the late Sunday night and into Monday morning. There's worries here that we could see mostly a travel issue, some pockets of freezing rain, and some glazing. So this is something we're also going to have to watch. Winds appear to stay low enough that are not going to be a factor, but something else we'll have to watch as this area of low pressure tracks across the Great Lakes and moves up into Canada. But we get dry slotted, looks like, on as we get into Tuesday, and a few more rain showers, and then the cold air comes back, it looks like, prior to Thanksgiving, as that weather system off to the east exits. Another area of higher pressure builds in. That looks like it'll be valid during the day on Thanksgiving Day with dry weather, at least for a portion of the day. Okay, this is the 925 millibar temperature, and you can see the coldest of the cold is illustrated here in the darker blues and into the purples, the coldest air right in this vicinity here, and you can see 0 degrees Celsius and then minus 50. Pretty cold stuff off the, looks like portions of west of Hudson Bay. Needless to say, it's pretty warm in Alaska. You can see how that air has been displaced and pushed down into the lower 48 United States, mostly affecting the northern plains east to the northeast United States. So as we run this, you can see the trends here. Now this is valid. I'll get you over to about, that would be about 7 o'clock on Friday evening. But you can see what's going on here. We have a little bit of a warm-up taking place with that transition period. We're starting to see a lot of the cold Arctic air move back into Canada. And as we get a good southwesterly push, this originally coming out of Mexico, and it heads north of us. And so we see a little bit of a warming trend here as we get into Sunday and to Monday and Tuesday of next week. But here comes the second batch of Arctic air that's going to be dropping in. And as we get into, it looks like basically Tuesday night into Wednesday, it's when that frontal system will move on in. So colder air, it looks like, ahead for the Thanksgiving holiday, although not as cold as it has been. But you do note these temperatures, once again, pretty cold. Again, this is 925 millibar temperatures, not at surface, so a little bit elevated, but indeed some very cold air. But we could see more of these sort of roller coaster rides as occasionally some of that warmer air injects north. And this is experimental, but this is something that's kind of interesting of note. At this morning at 12Z, which is 7 o'clock this morning, the temperatures on a contiguous United States level, all averaged together, are right here, the 2014, on this particular date at this particular time of 7 a.m. Note how cold it is, and it was only colder back in 1985. No other mornings were this cold on a large-scale average to see how cold it is. And of course, those well below normal temperatures, pretty significant as you get into northern Florida. They're having some real cold temperatures for them, as well as, of course, in the upper Midwest, the Great Lakes region. Not quite as much in the Northeast, at least today. Now, sticking with temperatures for a while, here we are. We're almost at record. The shaded gray areas are your basic records, and this is the GFS ensemble forecast. And it basically forecasts a nice warming trend. Of course, it's going to peak out in the early part of next week. And then you can see the temperatures make a slide, and we get into that territory again near record-setting potential as we get into around the 30th of November, the 1st of the month of December. So looking further downrange, it looks like nothing real significant, a little more of a warm-up. We stay within the lines, if you will, but our averages all the time, of course, sliding downward as we get toward the middle part of winter, which actually occurs about the 22nd of January. Now, interesting to note, the extreme cold that we saw will be balanced out with extreme warmth. So, an interesting thing to note here that the overall weighted averages, at least between now and next Wednesday, are running a little bit on the warm side. And as we look at 3 days down the road, you can see that the warmth is exiting, and here comes the next cold batch of air out of the northern prairies of Canada and then into the western part of the United States. So interesting notes here. We're in for some roller coaster rides, and each time we transition from one extreme to the other, usually we get a precipitation event sort of in between. Quick look at the dailies here. This is the current reading. This is 12Z, 7 o'clock this morning. Today's high temperature is running about a little bit into the low to mid 30s. And then not exceptionally cold, but coldest temperatures will be tomorrow night. It looks like Friday night, Saturday morning. And then we start to see those temperatures start to kick back up as that milder air kicks in. Now this green line here is not a model line, but what the National Weather Service thinks, and that's because the European model is also indicating temperatures are going to go above 50 degrees as we head toward, it looks like Monday and near 50 degrees on Tuesday. And then from there, incrementally downward, but not that sharp, which means the cold air will not come rushing in, but sort of in increments. And a quick look at the 7-day snowfall totals, mostly across northern Vermont. We've seen a few 1-inch reports in the central sections, and once you get in basically north of Addison and Orange counties, it starts to pick up, and especially the mountainous areas. About 7 inches, my location here, co-op observer site at Wuthering Heights and Worcester. About 4 inches as you get over toward the Plainfield area. 6 inches up north of around Cabot, and then 9 inches as you get over towards Sutton. And you can see where the snow has been most heaviest. Now, this is not the top of Mount Mansfield, but they have about 4 inches total there. Not a whole lot in the lowlands and parts of western Vermont nor in southern Vermont. Looking at the total snow on the ground, about 4 inches my location, 4 inches in Parts of western Caledonia County around Cabot, same kind of deal. In parts of northern Caledonia County, 6 inches around Sutton. They lead currently right now with the most snow on the ground. 2 inches way up north around Newport. So to conclude here for the VELCO Weather Heights Hazard Outlook, well, we're looking at the precipitation here being very, very minuscule. This is lake effect snows, and this is the area we're going to have to watch with a little bit of a transition to freezing rain. But you'll note this is under 2/10 of an inch, and we're not looking at a whole lot of rainfall. Thanks for watching. Roger Hill, Wuthering Heights Consulting.